G'day guys and welcome. Hope everyone is doing well. What's going on here? Anyway, just thought I would wing it a little bit. Just as I stumbled across this website here, one of these buildings that took my eye was this guy. And it's going to be a struggle, but the Palais Volkswirt, But anyway, look at this beauty. This is in Amsterdam. And all this is glass. And I mean, look how much glass we're talking. These huge windows. This sacred geometry style circle that you see on cathedrals, usually as a full circle. I sort of believe that those shapes are the ancient people telling us that they knew what snowflakes look like under a microscope. Just my own personal little... But this is a really cool site. I just stumbled across it researching other stuff. And it's buildings that have been destroyed. Glorious buildings. Penn State, if you've never seen this place, is just amazing. And as per usual, we put our horrible little signs sticking all over the place, attaching them wherever we can. But look at this structure. Cast iron and glass, and the roof to a train station, so a subway system. I just stare at these sort of photos like this for ages. I mean, I think that is 1800 something. Sorry, I can't remember. Now this place here, the Crystal Palace in London. So supposedly this Crystal Palace was the inspiration for this palace. And just quickly, Palais Volkswirt. Oh, it's tough. When I looked, I mean, to me it looked like a World's Fair building, and it wasn't a World's Fair. It was a gentleman that visited the World's Fair, Samuel Sarfati, visited the Great Exhibition in London, which then prompted him to quickly get back home to Amsterdam and erect a crystal palace of his own. Only after council approved it, of course, just to distract you a little bit further. I mean, who cares what council thinks? Look at this building. I mean, a council, 6 councils in 6 provinces are going to need to unify to help build this thing. Transportation, etc. of all the materials. Look at these people walking around with wheelbarrows and top hats, but also seemingly looks like it's on a forted foundation with the canals running around everywhere. And of course, as the story always goes, this place was destroyed by fire. This is a very common occurrence. It's a bit blurry, but you get the general idea of how big this place was in comparison to these tiny little ants. Just huge. So let's read a little bit about it. So when this gentleman came back from London in 1853, he petitioned his council that his new palace be part of an extensive plan in expanding the city. So, as usual, a drawing competition came about. The prize was offered for the building's design in 1856, but was not awarded to the contestant anyway. We've heard this before. Cass Gilbert, Louisiana World's Fair, or American Continent World's Fair architect champion of the world, who also was given a project to build in a drawing contest that he didn't enter. Lots of Tartarian influenced buildings seem to hold an organ. I'm talking mainly about the cathedrals and such that, in my opinion, were not originally planned to be places of worship, singing hymns, holding hands. Maybe in a way that energy was absorbed in these ceremonies. I would believe that. With everyone talking about the antennae on these buildings being filled with red mercury, my belief in that has grown. So a fire destroyed the palace in the night of the 17th of April 1929. Of course. The gallery of the arcade, housing shops and apartments, was spared, but the main building was lost and never reconstructed. Well, of course, why would you reconstruct a beautiful landmark building like that? Just keep the apartments and the shops. And it made way in 1960 for a bank. So the new owners pissing on their territory, but that place just really caught my eye, and the reason why is just so although meaning it says here the Palais Volkslied, meaning Palace of Popular Diligence, which I didn't really buy. So that's all it says, but weirdly, here we go. Popular industry, and we know the Palace of Industry or the Palace of Mining, etc. is a term used at the World's Fairs. So back to this site. These awesome structures. This is what made me laugh. So I'm just going to read this. Built by Joseph Paxton for the Great Exhibition of 1851, often considered the first World's Fair. The Crystal Palace was one of the most masterful feats of engineering at the time. The 1,851-foot-long building was constructed with cast iron and sheet glass in 1851. But this made me laugh. But in 1936, this cast iron and sheet glass building caught fire and was destroyed. Oh my goodness. Because cast iron and glass is just so flammable. Here we have some remnants of the Louisiana World's Fair, one of my favorite places to visit, just to remind myself of how amazing these people really were. And I truly believe that very important ancient people walked these areas before we did. So we'll just keep moving. The Singer Building and 41 stories. Strange. But perhaps it was 45. And the majority of those 5 are still underground because this floor here seems to be extremely buried. Singer Tower was the tallest building in the world, and I believe that a World's Fair architect built this as well, along with their many projects simultaneously. Oh look, when the 47-story headquarters of the Singer manufacturing building was completed, but they just said it was 41 stories. It held the title of the world's tallest building. And we built that with a horse and buggy. We've got motor cars going, I apologise. We didn't pave the road yet. Why would we do that? Well, we need to build the buildings before we pave roads. Is that an antenna? If this isn't Russia, yeah it is. Archangel Michael built a house of worship for the needs of Russian military units. Here fellas, if you need to take a prayer, just drop in here. I'll just whip this up real quick. Look at the detail on these sort of buildings. It's a shame that it goes small when I click on it. So some later added appendages, I believe. And why would this sort of a building be constructed just for worship when the armies that the soldiers this was built for are completely depleted? Definitely don't have the money to be spending on things like this. I love these type of corner buildings. This one with Roman columns. So many floors, but huge first floor seems. 3, I reckon about 10 or 12 floors. But look at the size of the humans. Each floor has a ginormous ceiling, and this building just sticking out. Like, look at it around it. It's the biggest building for a while. But look at the intricacy on the cornices, etc. And our stupid signs slapped on them. So I was just whipping through and I wanted to make sure I recorded something on this place before I forgot it. Here's that. Oh no, they call it the Palace of Industry here. Stunning exhibition space and entertainment hall inspired by London's Crystal Palace. And it's funny that they say that because, I mean, the inspiration could be so many things with the bulbous onion dome. Let's move on here. Where are we? The Old Main Library in Cincinnati. So I bet not one person watching this has ever been here. Look at these books. To the ceiling. I forgot this place I've seen before. Using it as a mud flood example. The whole first floor is underground. The door is about 20 feet tall. And all this construction going on out the front. So recently I've been really trying to get a grasp on the timeline of the demise of the Tartarians. And it's really difficult, obviously, because there's so many different historians' accounts of Tartarians, Tartars, Tartarstans, and etc. And it's all a mix-up, in my opinion, and it's going to be impossible to figure out the true history. So, you know, I've just been doing my own research, using my own imagination. and just thought I would note some similarities, coincidences, using the symbology that we're given. Seeing as we know our heads of state don't even wipe their ass before checking the stars and mythology, I thought I would go by that rule. So obviously the Tartarian flag and a griffin, or is it? Because we also have other depictions of this style. And I'm sorry if I'm completely mixing up the Kazan and Tatarstan and Tatar mythologies here, but this is just my opinion. Speaking to a friend in Bulgaria recently, he has a lot of interesting things to say. Essentially, I'm not confident in talking about a conclusion to this because who should be? We're all trying to figure this out together. When I see this, I see the griffin. And the griffin, a legendary creature, the body and tail and back legs of a lion, the head and wings of an eagle, and sometimes an eagle's talons as its front feet. Now obviously civilizations using legendary creatures as the mascot to their society. So I believe when we look at this, we can agree that that's what they're depicting. Clearly the feet of a bird. And is that it must be an eagle, but with a lizard tongue. Body of a lion. And here we see a different type, almost like a little dragon. And the Kazan timeline, they say. And perhaps closely related to the ancestors of the Tartarians. I don't believe to be the Tartarians because these are a people that we have no connection with, and obviously we've come after them, all of us, every different European nation as well. None of them hold the knowledge, but to say any European nation now is a direct descendant of Tartaria, to me is a bit rich. Now, when I look at this, I see this, the Zealand. It's a legendary creature with the head of a dragon, the body of a bird, the legs of a chicken, the tail of a snake, the ears of a canine, and red wings. Sharp teeth, dark grey feathers, and scaly dark grey skin. As you can see here, it has been the official symbol of Kazan. So that's interesting to me for one reason. A place of origin of the Tartarians, perhaps Moscow, and the Moscow flag being St. George slaying a Zealand, which is a dragon, but it's also the symbology on the Kazan flag. So perhaps telling the story of the conquering of these people, the final remaining residues, and St. George, obviously a saint depicted in many different religious bases. He's a patriot saint of England. And something also interesting, the Tatarstan Russian flag, also with this winged creature, the coat of arms. So the St. George story, obviously a myth and legend, they say, coming out of the Golden Legend book, written a millennia ago, 13th century. But obviously symbology being very important to the people that run our world. And I find it very interesting that St. George killing this Zealand depicted over the ages so many different ways. Is it the people that attach themselves to this religion and this teaching? Are these the people that conquered the Tartarians and what we know today as modern society? I know that my country is run by the crown, so whatever story they have told us in our history is their story. Whether it's true or not, it's for us to find out. And I did find it very suspicious that the monarch uses the mascot of St. George killing the dragon on their Bentley even today. So anyway, thanks for hanging around, guys, if you have. Hope you found today a bit interesting. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it. Hope you have a good rest of your day or evening, and I'll catch you next time.